I am super excited to share the next news story with New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Yes, Zohran Mamdani had made history on Friday, March 13th, where he had signed a new executive order creating the first ever New York City Office for LGBTQIA+ Affairs. Now, this is a formalized office within the New York City government that will now dedicate resources to the LGBTQIA+ community with queer folks, trans folks, right, and everyone in between. Everyone in this great city will be better aligned and have greater access to resources and support that they truly need. And this couldn't have come at a more, particular time. The fact that our current federal administration, they're attacking queer and trans rights every chance they get. So the fact that now in New York City, this is the first time that that not only has New York City really formalized this kind of process, but it's even more historic with the director who Zohran appointed for this new office. So congratulations to Taylor Brown, the first trans woman to ever lead a New York City government office or agency. Taylor Brown, she was formerly an assistant attorney general in the Civil Rights Bureau of the Attorney General's office for the state of New York. So from what I've been hearing is that she has been a phenomenal leader in her own right, and it's been so inspiring to see how she's not only been doing this incredible work on a, legal but very professional level, but now she's getting to bring her expertise as a very qualified individual and proud trans woman to New York City Hall. So this is going to be super exciting for all of us. I have full confidence in her, and I am very sure from what I've been hearing from folks who know her and have spoken to me directly is that, she is in it for all the right reasons. She is very much trusted resource. And you know what? She couldn't have been a better candidate for the position. So this is super exciting. Not only is this history making, not only in this grand scheme of queer and trans history, but also New York City history. And this is powerful. So it was super exciting to see that on Friday, March 13th, Zohran Mamdani and key members of the LGBTQS community. Not only did we have activists, we had advocates, we had Zohran-friendly organizing groups like Gays for Zohran, and then we also even had most of the LGBTQI+ elected officials from New York City all there in attendance. So it was really great to see, especially a historic moment for the LGBTQI+ community here in New York, but also nationwide. The fact that Zohran is creating an office to dedicate resources, right? Especially at a time when we need resources to combat the federal government. And throughout Zohran's not only administration is he protecting and serving LGBTQS+ New Yorkers, but he's also saying this on the campaign trail. So for those who may recall, during the Democratic primary for New York City mayor last year, Zohran was attending a lot of forums, and he even spoke in the creation of this entire office back on the campaign trail. I'll never forget this. Myself and a few of my friends, we were present at a Queers for Action forum that was hosted in the venue Red Eye in the Hell's Kitchen area, where Peppermint was also one of the extraordinaires, but also hosting the event. So she was emceeing, and it was really great to see her do a fabulous job talking to all the mayoral candidates at the time. And lo and behold, Zohran Mamdani, right there on the stage in the corner, Peppermint was asking great questions to all of them, and Zohran even shared that in his role as mayor, he would create an LGBTQIA+ Office of Affairs. So now, what will the Office of LGBTQIA+ Affairs actually do? Well, first of all, it's an extension of an existing program that existed under the de Blasio administration. Now, in 2017, it was called the NYC Unity Project. And this project essentially centralized and streamlined core city agencies, 16 city agencies, to not only grant them greater access to LGBTQ+ resources so they could support LGBTQ+ New Yorkers, right? Giving them support they need, also materials, but then more importantly, making sure that all of the city agencies weren't discriminating against anyone based on gender, gender identity, or sexual orientation. So the New York City government has been doing this since 2017, but this work 10 years later is finally getting its own office. Now, more importantly is that this office will strengthen the resources and support that LGBTQ plus New Yorkers truly need. Meaning money would be allocated to different programs. It would also mean that this would also allow for more intercommunication between the agencies to make them more affirming for LGBTQI plus folks, to make them more accessible for LGBTQI plus folks, but also just making sure that there are, people who understand the interfacing that's required. So it really does create a culture of safety. It creates a culture of, freedom of expression, but it also creates a culture that we treat everyone with respect and we are all dignified. Trans rights are human rights. Gay rights are human rights. D, all the above. We do not exclude, we include. So it was really, really special to see Zohran Mamdani bestow not only the honor on Taylor Brown, but also create the office, which, let's put it into the context, where the Stonewall riots of 1969. Imagine how history would have changed if we had an LGBTQ plus Office of Affairs back then. Things would have turned so much differently, and we wouldn't have to have fought so hard to get to where we are. But the creation of this office is part of the legacy from Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, two trans women who really were at the forefront of fighting institutional power to allow queers and trans folks to exist. So just the idea that this office was really just, a huge, momentum from a legacy of queer rights, especially in this city. And, there have been tough times with the queer and trans community in the city being under attack, under discrimination, where folks are dying. So it is a level of severity where we must meet this moment with the urgency it requires. I'm so proud to have Zohran Mamdani as our mayor to allow this to happen. So for those of you who might not be from the city or, just listening in, please understand that this is amazing for our movement. This is so special for every queer and trans New Yorker. Feeling affirmed and dignified is something that, not everyone is made feel like often. So if we can make anyone else feel affirmed and dignified, this is what makes our democracy so special. So if you can, make sure to give Zohran a thank you. Go support Taylor Brown. And I'm sure there'll be more ways that we can get involved with supporting the services and the needs of our LGBTQ plus New Yorkers from every color of the rainbow, right? It's so great to see that Zohran had, bestowed this incredible honor on Taylor Brown and to seeing it play out in real time right now in 2026, all while that, queer and trans rights are under attack. So this is powerful. This is so meaningful, and I cannot wait to see how this inspires more LGBTQ plus folks to get involved. And I cannot wait to see what comes next for the LGBTQIA plus community right here in New York City. Breaking news, we just hit 150 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in to Not Suitable for Democracy. I'd love for you to keep supporting the show. So if you like what you hear and want to learn more, then make sure to subscribe to Not Suitable for Democracy on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.